Good evening, my friends. Welcome to Carpo's channel. Today is the 4th of January 2017. I'm just sitting here smoking a bowl, thinking about what I wanted to talk about in my video. And I was going to make this a little earlier. I thought, one of the most frustrating things about making videos is having all these ideas in my head that I can't share. And all these thoughts that I really cannot seem to convey in a way that is effective in getting my point across. And I'd say, after 7 years and 4,000 plus videos, which still just blows my frickin' mind, I can't even believe that I've had the desire or interest in making videos that long. Mainly because I am kind of a jack of all trades, master of none type guy. I mean, I wouldn't say that. I do like to master what I get into to an extent, but not master. I mean, there's always something new to learn. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about in this video, was the things that we do in life and the things that we feel like we need to do, the obligations that we have to be something or to do something with our lives, to find ourselves accomplishing something that can be recognizable by others and just by ourselves. Just to know that we've put in our best effort to life, to find something that we can all, a life that we can, I guess one of the things we all agree on pretty much is that, well, I guess I can't say that for sure, but I should say one of the things that we all discover is that work is an important part of life. And I don't just mean working a job, obviously. Work doesn't have to even include money. Work can just be doing something that is accomplishing a mission or a goal. And I would say that the real work in life, you don't get paid for. In other words, the things that are most important in our lives to accomplish, the only reward is the knowledge that you've done it, or the satisfaction in knowing that it may help the world, or at the very least help a few people. Nobody wants to work a job where they don't feel like they're making an impact, but a lot of us have to, which, I was thinking about this earlier because I was listening to an older Joe Rogan podcast, and can't remember the guy he had on, but they were talking about work, different jobs and skills, and he was saying, they brought up carpentry, and he said how, Rogan was saying how it's the passion that people have about the things that they do that interests him. And he was saying that, the other guy was saying he's not even a carpenter, but he has all these carpentry like subscriptions in, I guess, Instagram or something. I'm not sure, I don't use any of those other ones, but he said that he is fascinated with carpentry because of the passion that people put into the work that they do. And how it's kind of one of those things where you're taking a natural product, wood, and you're turning it into something usable. And that is pretty amazing. And I realized I took that for granted. I mean, I was a carpenter for at least a dozen years, on and off a little longer, but I started out doing roofing and basically can build a house from the ground up. In my mind, anyway. No, I need a lot of help, but it's been a while. But, I've laid foundations and plates on foundations. I've built walls, I've done everything from basically any component of a house. And I thought how, since I started when I was younger, didn't get into construction until I was like maybe 18 or 19, but I took it for granted that I was learning so many skills, and I worked for a guy for a while that kind of just gave me free rein and said, here, you want to do this, go for it, and I was getting paid $40 an hour to go experiment on, actually no, sorry, at that point I was making like $15 an hour because I was an employee, but he was the one that inspired me to get licensed and start making, better money doing my own thing, and eventually I started my own company, which was above the level construction, and I did mostly finished carpentry. And I loved it, just loved it. And the only reason I quit was because my back went out. My sciatica started hitting me to the point where I couldn't even lift my tools anymore. And even though I had to just quit my career, and that's why I have my Kratom business now, because before I didn't, there was about a year and a half after I quit carpentry that I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. And I really missed those days because I enjoyed what I was accomplishing and making. Like, for example, this chair right behind me, I made from scratch without a plan or a drawing. I just took a bunch of lumber. I think I was using like 5/4 lumber, which is 1 inch thick, for a lot of it. But some of these were like 2x6s. I guess I should show the thing so you know what I'm talking about. Uh-oh, didn't realize it was black and white tonight. My bad. I'll change the lighting here. I made it out of alder, that's right. So it's got this little curve back here, and there's nothing that fancy. It's done without hardware. There's no bolts, there's no metal in this chair. But it's a little bit off-center, so it kind of tilts back. Let me grab this lamp. There we go. So anyhow, I did this on one of my little excursions to do some carpentry for myself, and it was during a time when I was building custom wingback chairs and like couches for this guy. And he was a dude who just had money to, he really didn't have money to waste, but he was really excited about starting his own furniture company. So he had me just saying, here, he'd show me a picture of a chair and say, can you build this? And you know what a wingback chair is. It's like those soft chairs that have the wings that come around, and they're very involved and detailed. I spent frickin' like 60, 80 hours mapping out a chair he gave me, a frame, and trying to remanufacture that from scratch. It just blows my mind that I actually did it, but eventually we made a few of them. God, it blows me away. You know, I had, oh man, there's a whole page I have, like, I think on PhotoBucket, that had like where I used to upload all my stuff. And I went there the other day and I was just looking at all the kitchens. We did entire kitchen remodels and full house remodels. You know, coffered ceilings and beautiful cabinetry, all from scratch, all in my garage. And I was like, looking back on it, I'm like, damn, I feel good about that. Like, that's an accomplishment, you know? And not to get off track and start talking about my past and my work, but it just came to mind when I was thinking about being satisfied with the things we do in life. It's one of the things that inspires me to want to do more. You know, knowing, but the thing is, even if you're doing carpentry where you know it's going to endure for a long time, the one thing you always know is that it's all going to rot eventually. It doesn't matter how important your job is or your career is or whatever you do, eventually it's not going to matter. Now, what I mean by that is it's kind of like, it's a playful version of nihilism, which is, you know, the idea that nothing really matters. You know, no matter how important the things we do, even if we're out saving the whole damn world from, you know, disaster, in the end, everything, you know, does what it does and everything is forgotten. That's kind of a, not everyone would agree with that. I know there are religious people who believe that there is a larger purpose, which I can understand that there is to me there is a larger purpose to the universe, but it doesn't matter. The little trivial things that we do while we're here don't matter as much. And I'm bringing that up to say, by casting away what we want to believe or what we think our obligations are on earth, you know, like if we believe we have to do certain things in life to fulfill our karma or dharma, and believe that we're trapped into a certain like life path or a role, or we fit our, you know, when you're, you know, believing in star signs, all these different things. If they're beneficial, it's fine, but they can hold us back because they are telling us something about where we're going to be in the future. And or what we should be doing while we're here, rather than saying, I am a human being, I have a free mind, I can decide whatever I want to do. What is stopping me? Nothing. You know, it makes me think of all the people who live here in the West, you know, Americans who complain that they don't have enough freedom. And I say, you know, the world's always been oppressive. It is the way it is. And yes, there's a lot of people in the upper echelons and the elite who tread on people like us. And yes, we need to fight back against that, fight against tyranny. But so many people get wrapped up in it that they forget how many freedoms they actually have in an open society like this. Like, I can sit here and make a video about anything I want. I can talk shit about any religion, or I can support any religion. I can talk shit about any political party, or I can support a political party. No matter what I talk about, it doesn't matter if people don't agree. They can just say, I don't agree. But I'm not going to get, you know, generally not going to get pulled in and imprisoned and tortured because I speak against the president or somebody in the government or, you know, there are, you know, situations like that in this country, of course, but I guess my point being is take the good with the bad, but focus on the good that we do have. We have the opportunity to do great things. And in a Western society where there is more money and more potential, it's easy for us to actually feel inferior, feel like lesser people, because those around us are doing better than us. It's keeping up with the Joneses, and folks don't realize that it's worse now in many ways than it was in ancient times, say a couple thousand years ago. Say in Rome, or you know, some of the greater societies, there were the rich, and then there were the rest of the people. Okay, there was no middle class, and it's not that it was better conditions; it was horrible squalor for some of the poor. But the thing is, they accepted their lot in life because they realized there was such a wide gap to cross between being absolutely dirt poor and obtaining all these riches that these kings and princes have. So rather than sit and strive for fortune, they would say, all right, well, I'm going to make the most with what I have and do the best I can in life. And that served them often better than in the Western world, where we're thrown out into the streets after we leave school and say, hey, find a job. And a person doesn't know what the hell they want to do, so they're forced to take a job that maybe they don't want, doing something that they say it will just get me by for a year or two. And the next thing you know, they've been there for 10 or 20 years. It happens all the time. And we learn to just accept where we're at. Well, the thing about the West, that compared to like the ancient times, as I was saying, is that now we can't just say, well, this is how it is. We see the middle class, the upper middle class, and then the elite, and people see people with money, and they say, I know in my heart that if I really put forward the motivation, dedication, I could accomplish all these wonderful things. And it's not just about money. I'm talking about like actually changing the world, changing things, because that's what I was talking about when we want to affect change. We want to do something with our lives. We have the capacity to do it and the resources and ability to do it, even if it's just through the internet or helping at our local soup kitchen or whatnot. But we feel then obligated, like we're kind of forced into picking and choosing some cause to donate to or to help with. We can't find our own path to helping the world. It's very difficult for an individual to say, this is what I'm going to do, and this is going to help people. I mean, and there are many people out there who like self-help gurus and self-help teachers and books, which it's like George Carlin says, if you're reading a book, it ain't self-help, it's help. I always loved that. But I understand both sides of it, that for some people they need those encouraging words, not because they need to hear someone else's opinion, but because they need to hear what they know backed up. What we all know inside, that being a happy, rounded person in this world means that we work towards something that we think is important. No matter how you look at it, we can live a simple life, but even that can be important. Even if you're a parent, even if you're a really good parent that just all you care about is raising your children, you have a goal. The problem with that one is that eventually your kids leave, and a lot of people get stuck after their children fly the nest and say, wait a minute, what do I do? Where's my life? Who am I? I never figured out who I was. And fortunately, I'm not that way. I have 3 kids, a 5 and an 8-year-old, but also a 23-year-old. So I've already been through the whole teen years and all that before. And I know that it's hard to raise kids and it takes a lot of focus. And if you're raising children and you're working a full-time job, well then what time do you have to change the world? And so, and I don't mean big things, but I just mean accomplish what we want to change even our lives, change our perspective to feel like we're doing something, participating. And although we don't understand where we're moving as a species or even as a society, though we can look and say, well, we want to have progress, and you think, well, where are we progressing to? More and more buildings, burning more and more oil. I mean, it's a disaster out there, but it's not hopeless. That if we view the world through the lens of media, we're always going to feel like it's hopeless. If you wake up in the morning, though, and you choose not to delve in to see what Trump said last night, or which leaders have gone, have the nuclear option, or what is the chances that you might die from some mysterious disease, or the Ebola outbreak's coming, oh, it's SARS, through my life alone, and I'm only 42, I've seen so many different things that were supposed to just kill us all off. I've heard 1,000 different prophecies. Every single year they're talking about how this October is going to be the October surprise. It's going to change the world. The economy is about to collapse. The Illuminati are coming. The reptilians have invaded. There's UFOs and disclosure, and that there's going to be a fake attack, and they're going to make it seem like aliens so they can dominate the world and enslave us through mind control using HAARP and radio waves. It's all just a bunch of bullshit. It doesn't matter how much of it is real or what the likelihood of something like that happening is. It's all bullshit. Every year it's the same thing. And fearmongers revel in this stuff. And this is why there's so many channels like that, you know. The truther channels. You know, it's like, who am I to say, you know, that they're wrong? Well, I'm a guy who's heard this shit every year. That's who I am. You know, a guy who says, just because a new channel pops up and tells you that the world's ending doesn't mean you need to cash out your account and run for the hills. It's like, we have to live our lives too. And what we want to do is live a life that's productive. But the problem comes is when we're not feeling we're doing well in our own lives. When we don't feel like we're truly happy within. And we're not accomplishing the things we wanted to. This is often when people turn to conspiracies, or to hatred, or to extremely religious views where they, you know, spit on everyone else and say that they don't know what they're talking about. You can be sure that if you're meeting resistance from the things that you think and believe from a lot of people, then you might want to rethink your approach, because no matter how right you think you are, if it's causing you grief and heartache, it doesn't matter how right you are, you're going to suffer in the end from it. I've met so many people who think that they have some magic truth. And I say, well, has it served you? I say, well, not yet. I say, well, keep waiting, because, you know, the only magic truth that has served me is the one of living right now. I don't worry about what's going to happen to me tomorrow. And I don't dwell on the bullshit that went on yesterday. I'm always changing. I'm on an ever-converting path to find what works best. I've even had people say, you know, it seems like you just take the best out of each religion to suit whatever works for you. I'm like, hell yeah, what other way is there, you know? God, being human is complicated. The more you think and the deeper you think about it, if you're a philosopher, you know how deep the rabbit hole goes. That it is an endless array of, holy shit, why am I here? And then realizing that you have to make that truth for yourself. So, this video's probably already gotten long, so I'll make it short and sweet and say, well, I think it'll be short and sweet, but I wish you all the best on your journeys, and I hope that you all have found something that works for you and a way to keep yourself contented and happy in this world. And don't feel like you have to oblige to other people's desires and wants and needs. There are parents out there who are telling their kids the best way to live, you know, even when they're in their 20s. It's like, no, I'm sorry, you got to find your own path. You know, parents who want to hang on to that kind of shit, you know, you've got to let your kids go. Some people need direction, of course, but only if they ask for it, okay? That's the thing. Each child needs to be nurtured to find their own path, and that can be painful because you're not feeding them a bunch of bullshit. You're not saying this is the way things are in politics, and this is the way things are in religion, and this is what the world's all about, and this is the job you should get. You're saying, fly little birdie, find your way. And that can be almost worse in a lot of cases because we want our children to have some stability. So you have to build a framework for understanding, and the idea is to raise children who can see the world through a different lens than we did. The ones that aren't trapped in paradigms and archetypes and allegories that run the whole, you know, society in general is run by ideas. And many of these ideas are false. So when we start to find out what the truth is, you find out that nobody really has it. That there's no individual or group who has a monopoly on truth. That it can only be found within the heart, and we have to be honest and have emotional intelligence to understand our hearts. Otherwise we will read them wrong and just run around screaming and getting upset over things that don't even matter. So, peace and love and all that shit in the new year. I'll talk to y'all later.